All right, let's take a look at the Chapter 3, or the mid-review for Chapter 3 here. So our first objective, again, is taking a look at being able to graph quadratic functions, being able to find the intercept, the maximum, minimum values, being able to find the axis of symmetry and such. So on the first problem here, it says, given our quadratic function, f of x equals negative 2x minus 8 plus x squared. Right away, hopefully you see that, wow, this function is not written in general form. It's not written in order. It's not written in this ax squared plus bx plus c form. So that's what they actually ask you to do right away on this one. So to get us started here, we're going to write f of x in order. So the x squared comes first, and it's positive, so positive x squared, then the minus 2x, and then the minus 8. Then it asks us to identify a, b, and c. Remember, a is the number in front of x squared. If there is no number, we assume it is 1. B is negative 2. Make sure you include the sign. And c is negative 8. Find the y-intercept. Remember, the y-intercept is in the form 0c. So in our case, this tells me that my y-intercept is the point 0, negative 8. Next part says find the equation to the axis of symmetry. Remember, the equation for the axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. So I'm just plugging in those values from right over here. Here's my b, so a negative 2 over 2 times 1, there's my a value, gives me a positive 2 over 2, or gives me 1. Axis of symmetry is always in the form x equals, because technically it's a vertical line, x equals 1. So now it asks me to find the coordinate of the vertex. So the easiest way of doing that is now taking my 1 and plugging it back into the function. So I'm going f of 1, whoops, I apologize here, I'll just rewrite that, f of 1, I said it, and then I wrote f of x, sorry. So f of 1 equals 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 8. So 1 minus 2 minus 8 equals negative 9. So I have my vertex negative, my x value was 1, so 1 comma negative 9. So now, once I have all this information, it actually makes graphing it pretty easy. So when I put this in the table, I like to put my vertex right smack dab here in the center. So I'm going to put it at 1, negative 9. So now, these values will go 0, negative 1, negative 2, going 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now to get the rest of the values, what I can do is I can graph the equation x squared, so I go to my y equals, I'm plugging it right in there, minus 2x minus 8. Go ahead and hit graph, get my nice parabola, and that's what I want to graph right here. So then I can go to my table, and I can get all the rest of the values. So some of you might have not even had to go to the table and realize, oh, once I have my vertex, since my a is 1, I'm increasing 1, 3, 5 in both directions. So it's like adding 1, then adding 3, and then adding 5, and doing the same thing in the other direction. And you can see that that is matching right there on the table also. So now it's just a matter of taking a few minutes and graphing those points. So some of you remember how I start at my vertex here at 1, negative 9. I go left and right 1, then I go up 3 in both directions, and up 5. And so it makes it so much easier, I think, if you remember that 1a, 3a, 5a pattern with graphing, where a is the number in front of the x squared. All right, that takes care of question number 1. All right, question number 2 here says, determine whether or not the function has a maximum or minimum value. So this is what we're looking at. F of x equals 8x plus 13 plus 2x squared. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is rewrite it in order just to help myself. So 2x squared plus 8x plus 13. So since a is positive, a equals -2, and this is positive, that means my parabola is opening up, which means I have a minimum value. Sorry about that, I forgot the minimum there. So now it says state the maximum or minimum value of that function. Okay, well this minimum or maximum value, in this case minimum value, is the vertex. So we do it exactly like we just did up top. First I'm going to find the x-coordinate of the vertex by going -b over 2a. So in our case, -8 over 2 times 2. So that tells me I get -8 over 4, which is -2. So now I have the x-coordinate, -2. So I can plug that into the function now, f of -2 equals 2 times -2 squared plus 8 times -2 plus 13. So -2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times -2 is -16 plus 13. So if I put those all together, I get 5. So my vertex is at the point 2, 5. So now it says state the domain and range of this function. So remember the domain for our function. So I'm going to kind of use the top here, domain. Remember, for all quadratics, parabolas, our domain always goes from -infinity to positive infinity. Now, just to let you know, this is called interval notation, and I find that totally acceptable. Some of you may have been seeing in the homework the set notation, so I'm just going to write what the set notation would look like. And how set notation goes is, since domain deals with x, we would say x such that x is going from -infinity to positive infinity. However, I am very happy, and I find interval notation so much easier to work with. So now, when I look at my range, I'm looking at my function values. I know that this graph doesn't dip down farther, than a +5. So for my range, it's actually going to start at 5 and go to positive infinity. If you're writing that in set notation, now the range deals with the function f of x, where the function has to be greater than or equal to 5. So now, if you have a hard time determining that just from the information given, don't be afraid of coming in here to your calculator and going 2x squared plus 8x plus 13 and graphing it and looking at a picture of it. Again, domain goes from -infinity to positive infinity, and you can see here my vertex is at -2, 5, and because of that, and x goes up and it opens up, you can see that the range is going from 5 to infinity. All right, let's turn to the second page. Sorry for the bell. That's always fun. Same problem. So I look at this one. I have 3x squared plus 18x plus 24. So again, since a is positive, so here a is 3, since it's positive, I know that it's a minimum value. So now state the minimum. So I need to, again, do my x equals negative b over 2a. So in this case, I have a positive 18, so it's the opposite of negative 18. 2 times 3 is 6, so I get 3. So right now, I know the x-coordinate of my vertex is 3. So now I need to find f of 3. So 3 squared minus 18 times 3 plus 24. Well, 3 squared is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Minus 54, but plus 24. So 24 and 27 make 51. Minus 54 makes this negative 3. So I get my vertex at 3, negative 3. So now, domain and range. So for the domain, just like the last one, all domains of quadratics using interval notation, negative infinity to positive infinity. Again, if you like the set notation would say x such that x is going from negative infinity to positive infinity. For the range, set notation I think is a lot easier. It starts at negative 3, almost misspoke there, and goes to positive infinity. As in set notation, we'd say the function goes such that the function f of x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So again, if you needed to graph this, you could go 3x squared minus 18x. Oh, even with all these big numbers, we'll get a nice graph here. And you'll be able to see that graph right there. Notice how the vertex right here is at 3, negative 3. Okay? And it's going up. Again, if you're unsure, look at the table. You can see 3, negative 3 is my vertex. All right, let's take a look at, oops, I jumped a little bit too far there, but let's take a look at number 4. Okay, so number 4 is the word problems. We've had a few of these already, but it's just another great one to see. So it says the local theater group can sell 600 tickets at $30 to their upcoming performance. They estimate that for each $2 increase in ticket price, that will decrease the ticket sales by 20 tickets. How much should they charge per ticket in order to and it really should say maximize instead of maximum. Maximize, sorry about that. Good thing to make sure we correct next time. Their income from ticket sales, and what is the maximum income they can expect to make. So we got a lot of things going on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let x equal the number of price increases. And that means I of x is going to represent the income. So, as I write this function, I start off by saying, all right, the income, if we think about how income works, income is going to work by taking the number of tickets, okay, times the price. So, to get this income, the number of tickets I start out with is 600. But for every price increase I make, okay, the ticket sales decrease by 20. So I got to go minus 20 times x for every ticket price I increase it by. Okay. So, or however many increases I make. So now with the price, I'm starting to charge $30, but I'm deciding to increase the ticket by $2 per increase. So I'm going up by plus 2x. Now that I have the function, we need to FOIL. So I'm multiplying the first. So I get 18,000. Wow, that's a big number. Do the outsides. So 600 times 2x is 1200x. Do the insides, minus 600x times the last, minus 40x squared. So now to help me with this function, I like to write it in general form, in order of highest degree to lowest. So minus 40x squared. Okay. Combine like terms here. So 1200 and minus 600 makes 600x. I apologize, it's a positive 600x. I'm glad I caught that. And then plus 18,000. So now, using this function to find the maximum, okay, I know that my vertex is going to be the maximum. And I know this because A is negative. So I know my parabola is opening down. So I want to find that maximum point. So again, to help me find that vertex, my goodness, we've used this equation a few times. Axis of symmetry helps me find the x-coordinate. So negative 600 divided by 2 times negative 40. When I simplify this, I get 7.5. So that tells me that I need to make 7.5 price increases. So I want to then find f of 7.5 so I know what the actual profit, or I shouldn't say profit, income will be. So if I go negative 40 times 7.5 squared plus 600 times 7.5 plus 18,000, what I can do, plug that into my calculator if I need to. So let me get out of that mode. So if I go 40 times 7.5 squared, whoops, I forgot the negative. Negative 40 times 7.5 squared plus 600 times 7.5 plus 18,000. Hit enter. Look at that. I get the max income. So f of 7.5. So I have my income, $20,250. Now to get the ticket price, I have to plug that back in here for price. So the price would equal 30 plus 2 times 7.5 price increases. So that gives me a price of $45. So just to make note for our answer, our ticket price, whoops, forgot the word price, would be $45. Our income will be $20,250. All right. Continuing on here. Love the bells. So that took care of 3.1. 3.2, we'll just do this one and we'll continue the next on the next video. Says you'll be able to solve quadratic functions by graphing. You'll be able to estimate solutions also by graphing. So here we're given x squared plus 5 equals 6x by graphing. Notice how it asks you to switch it in standard form. So in order to enter these in on your calculator, you got to basically get it equal to 0. Hence why I have to minus 6x from both sides. So as I'm writing this, I kind of jumped ahead, but I write the x squared minus 6x plus 5. I'm wondering, where does that equal 0? Hence, where does it cross the x-axis? So now I can take my calculator. Let's enter this in. X squared, so x squared minus 6x plus 5. Whoops, somehow my plus didn't register there. Plus 5. Go ahead and graph it, and I can start to see where my vertex looks like it is. 1, 2, 3. So if I look at my table, I'm going to focus right around 3, and sure enough, right there, you can see that the vertex is at 3. So I'm going to put it here, 3, -4. Unfortunately, these tables, I like to have 7 spots. So a lot of times I add another one so that it helps me write the rest of these points. So 2, 1, 0, 4, 5, I'm adding a 0.6. If you don't, that's quite okay. So notice how it's going now looking at my table. -3, okay, 0, 5, and it does it on the other side because in essence I'm adding 1, then I'm adding 3, then I'm adding 5. It's doing that pattern since A was 1, 1, 3, 5. What's nice is here I can see my solutions. This is where it's going to cross the x-axis. So my solutions are x equals 1 or x equals 5. However, I do want to sketch the graph. I kind of jumped ahead to answer it. So I'm just going to sketch my graph so that I have a nice picture and I can see. Here's my vertex. Remember how I like to go left and right 1 as I go up 1, or I go up 1 as I go left, right. Now as I go left, right 1, I go up 3, 3, and 5, 5. Get my beautiful graph. All right, you'll need to go to the next video to watch the last 2 pages.